Well, this is that moment where I have to hold my head down in shame. The machine here, I want to set the record straight now. Keep in mind, guys, I have never used one of these. I'm still learning. The information I gave you on this last week was from a third-party engineering perspective from the 1920s, made for appearance and functionality. Nothing to do with ease of access. But actually, this one's been made with ease of access. Those 3 points I was showing you, 2 on the back, 1 up here in the front, those were for pipes to go down into that came up, bent out, and then went up and supported shelving to hold the sieve and the other half of the mold along with some other stuff. And it wasn't but 10 minutes after that video went out, I got a call from my buddy Scott Nellis. Scott also has one of these. He went into detail on exactly what those 3 bosses were for. As he was describing it to me and explaining things, I had this really sinking feeling about what I just put out on video. And then I get on the video and check my comments, and sure enough, someone else is setting me straight on there. As I said, on this video, I am setting the record straight. There are several guys that have these molding machines that I stay in contact with. I consider very good friends. Scott Nellis is one of them. He's got a YouTube channel. You should check it out. He owns Nellis Studios up in Michigan. Then my friend Benjamin Bronze, he is also very informative, but he's not on YouTube, but he's a good friend of mine on Instagram, and he's always there to support me on these. Along with my good friend Dave Peachy, which also owns a foundry up in Pennsylvania. He's only about 10 miles from Emmanuel King, Cattell Foundry. And matter of fact, they're good friends. But yes, I was wrong. So anyway, let's get to work. Let me see what else I can tell you wrong. Well, guys, this is the crank cover for the hit and miss engine that I showed you a week or 2 ago. And if you'll look around the bottom of this flask, you'll see 2x4s that are elevating the flask 1.5 inches. As I said a few weeks ago, we were going to have to centralize the casting to the top and bottom of the flask. And in order to do that, because of the irregular shape of the casting, we had to block the flask up 1.5 inches with 2x4s in order to shift this casting downward a little bit. Because if we didn't do that, the top of this casting would literally be flush with the flask, which was not going to work. Traditionally, I would use a third flask, a cheek mold, into this system, but we didn't have any flask this size in storage. I looked, and this was it. And keep in mind, this is an iron flask, which I hate. These things are super heavy. They add about another 30 pounds to every mold. But I'm removing the elevation boards now, and you'll see when I turn it up on edge that 1.5 inch barrier of sand that protrudes from the flask. Now, I have to be kind of careful with it at this point because that's still kind of loose. So I'm going to firm it up first with my hand. Here I'm coping down, or in this case, coping up. Now this side of the mold is going to have to be discarded. At that time when I made this video, I did not know that, but it doesn't matter. All the detail, all the hard work has to be done here in order to establish your parting line. The casting itself had very little, if any, draft angle, so it was not going to come out of this half of the mold. And it didn't want to come out of the core either. So I ended up having to change the way this one was going to release. If I have to do any excessive grinding on the casting, I'd rather do it on the inside where nobody's going to see it than on the outside. This was the first of 2 attempts to finally pull off a good casting. You'll see both in this video. I'm not going to show the molding process for the second attempt because it was identical to this, with the exception of I made a horseshoe runner that goes around the perimeter of the casting to feed it from both sides. On this attempt, I only did it on one side, and it almost made it, but not quite. So I'm just fine-tuning the parting line a little bit here. And I'm going to wrap it the best I can and see if I can't get it to move a little bit. right so far. Whoa!
What happened? What's the matter?
Got a chunk of the crucible left in there on the side. Never had that happen.
In the furnace?
Yeah.
Of the old crucible?
No, the brand new one.
A chunk of it? Like your crucible fell apart?
Yeah. I'm going to have to use this crucible every time. It's going to take every bit of it. Now I come back to check on things, and I think I've lost the flask, guys. Well, from all indications, we have a crank cover. After I grind it and cut the gates off, we ought to be good there. The 6x6 by 3 squares, cubes, 4 of the 6 made it. 2 of the 6 didn't. And the vice cart axle for the New Britain vice cart would have turned out perfect if I hadn't put the cope on 180 degrees off from the drag. It's been a long time since I've made that mistake, guys, but as you can see, here's one half of it. There's the other half. This is what it would have looked like, one solid casting. But better luck next time. This is the third attempt I made to get this guy taken care of, and if I hadn't made a blundering mistake of putting the mold together backwards, we would have had this done. Well, if you're wondering what was going on earlier, it was this brand new crucible that I put in last night. When I first fired the furnace up, I heard a pop, and I was thinking, all right, some refractory. I went ahead with my own business, and then as I went to pull this crucible last night, you heard me screaming, oh crap. Well, that's it. You can get a better idea of how much of the crucible delaminated by looking at it here. So, anyway, that scared me. I was worried. You know, I'd already picked it up, pulled it up out of the crucible. It's right here at my lap as I'm setting it down in the pouring shank. When I realized I'm missing half the crucible here. And miraculously, it held up. Since this crucible was already hot, and since it did hold the first time, we decided to go ahead and do 5 more melts with it. Very cautiously, I might add. And, I had it turned where if the thing blew out, it would blow the other way from me. But I didn't know that the first pull. I had it right here aimed at me. And it held up long enough to get this job out. For those who have been asking about the Windy Hill Foundry hats, these are now available on my website, windyhillfoundry.com, under stores, or you can click on the above link. These are on the pricey side, but keep in mind the shipping is included. Have a good day.